In the winter of 1950, when the world was still reeling from one war, and now facing another in Korea, Denmark made a quiet but powerful decision. They would send a hospital ship, not soldiers, but mercy. To lead that mission, they turned to a man who already had everything to lose. Commodore Kai Hammerich was 56 years old, a respected naval officer, and the sitting president of the Danish Red Cross. He stepped down from that high civilian post, kept his naval rank, and took command of the entire expedition. On January 23rd, 1951, the white ship with the Red Cross sailed from Copenhagen. 45 days later, she arrived in Busan. This is the story of Kai Hammerich and the mission he chose over comfort and safety. He wore the Red Cross on his chest like a crown, President of Mercy when the call came down. But Hammerich looked at the maps and the fire and said, I won't send others where I won't go myself. He stepped from the office, laid the title aside, kept the naval rank so the generals would listen when he spoke. At 56 years, with a lifetime behind, he chose the frozen sea and the white ship smoke from Copenhagen harbor on a cold January day. The Jutlandia sailed and the whole world watched her way. Hammerich's mission, white ship on the tide. Hammerich's mission, mercy in her stride. From Denmark to Busan with the Red Cross high. Hammerich's mission, a small nation's pride. 45 days through the long rolling sea, past Suez and Singapore into the war's gravity. March of 51, Busan harbor in sight. The white ship dropped anchor and began to fight. Not with rifles or bayonets, but with beds and with light. Treating the broken from 24 nations that night. Hammerich walked the decks with a quiet command. A civilian in uniform with a healer's hand. He could have stayed home with his title and name, but he chose the ship and he shouldered the flame. Hammerich's mission, white ship on the tide. Hammerich mission, mercy in her stride. From Denmark to Busan with the Red Cross high. Hammerich's mission, a small nation's pride. Some men lead from behind a desk and a pen. Hammerich led from the deck where the wounded came in. He gave up the safe road for the one full of cost, and showed what one nation's conscience could do when it's lost. Hammerich's mission, white ship on the tide. Hammerich's mission, mercy in her stride. From the Baltic to Busan, the story still stands. Hammerich's mission, Danish hands. Hammerich's mission, Hammerich's mission. White ship, white ship. While Kai Hammerich commanded the overall mission, and Professor Busch defied the rules for the children, there was one man who carried the daily weight of every life that came through the white ship's doors. Senior Dr. Mogens Winge was the hospital chief, the man responsible for turning a converted passenger ship into a working 300-bed hospital under fire. He ran the operating theaters, managed the staff, and made the hard calls when the wounded kept coming. And the rules said they could only treat soldiers. He stood with Busch when the decision was made to treat Korean civilians. He carried the quiet burden of command in a place where mercy and military orders constantly collided. This is the story of Mogens Winge and the hospital he kept alive. Soldier wear steel. Senior Dr. Winge with the weight of the deal. 300 beds and the wounded kept coming, while the rules on the paper kept the children from running. He ran the theaters with a steady hand, watched the blood on the decks and he made his stand. Busch brought the first child through the Red Cross door. Winge looked at the boy and he said, "We do more." He could have stayed safe in a Danish ward. Instead he sailed into the teeth of the war. Winge's mercy on the white ship's tide. Winge's mercy where the broken cried, while the order said soldiers and the rules were clear. Winge kept the hospital running through the fear. Every night the stretchers came up the gangway. Every day the same question, who do we save today? He signed the orders, he carried the load, while the disappearing medicine walked the dark road. He never raised his voice when the children arrived, just nodded to the nurses and the beds came alive. Hammerich had the flag, Busch had the fire, Winge had the hospital, and he never grew tired. Some men lead with thunder, some led with steel. Winge led with mercy and he made it feel real. Winge's mercy on the white ship's tide. Winge's mercy where the broken cry, while the order said soldiers and the rules were clear. Winge kept the hospital running through the fear. A shout or a fist, he just kept the doors open when the children were missed. A quiet commander in a white coat and cap, who turned a passenger ship into a place that fought back. In the Danish hand, Winge's mercy, Winge's mercy. He kept the hospital, he kept the hospital alive. On the docks of Busan, Korean children were dying in the dirt, while the most advanced hospital ship in the world sat at anchor with empty operating theaters. UN military regulations were clear. Jutlandia was to treat only military personnel. But Chief Surgeon Professor Edward Busch, one of Denmark's most respected doctors, could not stomach the sight. He personally went down to the docks, lifted a severely wounded Korean child into his arms, and carried him aboard against orders. That single act of defiance opened the door. From that moment on, the white ship with the red cross began treating thousands of Korean civilians, especially the children, even when the regulations said no. This is the story of Professor Edward Busch and the day mercy broke the rules. On the deck with the white ship behind, watching the docks where the broken were lined. Children in rags with the life bleeding out, while his theater sat empty and the rules held a doubt. Busch was a surgeon, a professor of men, but the sight of those kids broke something in him. He walked down the gangway, no order was given, lifted a boy from the dirt and said, "This one is living." They told him the rules, they told him the law. He carried the child through the Red Cross door. Busch's defiance, mercy won't wait. Busch's defiance, he opened the gate while the rules said no and the orders were clear. He carried the child and the whole ship could hear. They said only soldiers, only uniforms bleed, but Busch looked at the boy and he planted his feet. These children are dying while we stand and debate. I'll not watch them perish at the end of this gate. He laid the boy down on the clean white sheet, and the nurses moved in with the tools at their feet. One act of defiance turned into a flood. From that day the children came in with the blood. The regulations shook, but the ship held its ground. Busch had decided the children were found. Busch's defiance, mercy won't wait. Busch's defiance, he opened the gate while the rules said no and the orders were clear. He carried the child and the whole ship could hear. Some men follow orders when the world turns cold. Busch followed the oath that was written in gold. Not the one on the paper, but the one in his chest. That a doctor's first duty is to do what is best. Busch's defiance, mercy won't wait. Busch's defiance, he opened the gate. From the docks of Busch into the decks painted white. Busch's defiance turned the darkness to light. Busch's defiance, Busch's defiance, he carried the child. He carried the child. Even after Professor Busch brought the first child aboard, the rules were still strict. Jutlandia was officially only allowed to treat military personnel. But the Danish doctors and nurses could see the suffering on the docks every single day, especially the children. So they began to move in secret. At night, small groups of doctors would slip ashore to civilian clinics and orphanages like Happy Mountains. Expensive medicines, bandages, and supplies would quietly disappear from the ship's locked military inventory. only to reappear in the hands of Korean doctors treating local kids. No one ever spoke of it openly, but everyone on the white ship knew what was happening. This is the story of the disappearing medicine and the quiet defiance of the Danish medical team. In ink and in steel, only soldiers on the table, only uniforms could heal. But the docks were full of children with the life running out, and the doctors on the white ship could not look away. At night they moved quiet with the bag in their hand, down the gangway in the dark to the broken land. Medicine locked in the hold would vanish without a trace, and reappear in the hands of those who had no other place. They never asked permission, they never made a sound, just carried what was needed when the sun went down. Disappearing medicine, mercy on the tide. Disappearing medicine, the white ship couldn't hide. While the rules said soldiers only, the children still bled. So the Danish hands moved in the dark instead. Orphanage, the candles burning low, Korean doctors working with what little they had to show. Then one night the door opened and the boxes appeared, bandages and penicillin that the ship had never cleared. No one ever asked where it came from, no one ever said a name, but the children kept breathing and the doctors did the same. Busch and Winge and the others, they all looked the other way when the inventory came up short at the end of the day. They could have followed orders, they could have stayed clean, but the children were dying and the ship was too clean. Disappearing medicine, mercy on the tide. Disappearing medicine, the white ship couldn't hide. While the rules said soldiers only, the children still bled. So the Danish hands moved in the dark instead. Some men break the rules when the rules break the weak. Some ships carry mercy even when the orders say don't speak. The disappearing medicine never made the log, but it saved the ones the regulations forgot. Disappearing medicine, mercy on the tide. Disappearing medicine, the white ship couldn't hide. From the docks of Busch to the orphanage's light, disappearing medicine turned the darkness bright. Disappearing medicine, disappearing cut through the gray. White hull, red cross on a wartime day. Not a gunship song, but a promise made for the ones in pain and the price they paid. Through the blackened sea she kept her light, steel and mercy in the fight. Hands on stretchers, hearts in line. Jutlandia, you held the time. Jutlandia, hold the line, hold the line. Jutlandia, save the young, save the young. A ship of grace in a season of ash. Jutlandia, you brought them back. In the salt and blood, she made a bed for the shattered bones and the names unsaid. From the smoke of shore to the fevered deck, she carried hope when hope was wrecked. Through the blackened sea she kept her light, steel and mercy in the fight. Hands on stretchers, hearts in line. Jutlandia, you held the time. Jutlandia, hold the line, hold the line. Jutlandia, save the young, save the young. A ship of grace in a season of ash. Jutlandia, you brought them back. So raise a glass to the painted cross, to the ones she held and the ones we lost. Scandinavian courage, salt and steel, a floating vow that time can't kill. Jutlandia, hold the line, hold the line. Jutlandia, save the young, save the young. A ship of grace in a season of ash. Jutlandia, you brought them back. Rest now, brave sea. Rest now, waves. Jutlandia, we remember your name. In the winter of 1950, when the Chinese armies were pouring south again, the Netherlands sent its first soldiers to Korea. Lieutenant Colonel Marinus Petrus Antonius de Ouden, a veteran of the paratroops and the fighting in Indonesia, volunteered to lead them. He took command of the Netherlands Detachment United Nations, just over 600 men, and brought them into the line. On the night of February 12, 1951, near the town of Hongsong, the Dutch were holding the rear guard while other UN forces withdrew Chinese troops. Some disguised as retreating South Koreans overran the battalion command post. Den Ouden led the counterattack himself in the fierce hand-to-hand fighting that followed. He was killed along with 17 of his men. He was posthumously awarded the military order of William, the Netherlands' highest military honor. This is the story of Den Ouden's stand, and the price a small nation paid to hold the line. Dutch volunteers into the fire they were sent. They landed in Busch and with the winter closing in, held the line through the snow and the bitter northern wind. When the Chinese came south in the New Year's black tide, the Dutch were ordered to cover the retreat and hold the line. Home song in the dark, the command post under fire. He didn't run for cover, he led them into the wire. Then Ouden stand, Dutch lion in the night. Then Ouden stand, he gave his life. 17 brothers fell beside him in the snow. Then Ouden stand, the order of William knows. They came in the dark wearing friendly faces at first. Then the rifles turned and the mortars burst. The command post was overrun in the freezing black rain. Then Ouden grabbed his weapon and led the charge again. Hand to hand in the mud where the dead already lay. He fought until the end on that cold Korean day. A small nation's pride in a faraway fight. Then Ouden fell so the others could make it through the night. He could have stayed home with his rank and his name. Instead he chose the line and he carried the flame. Then Ouden stand, Dutch lion in the night. Then Ouden stand, he gave his life. 17 brothers fell beside him in the snow. Then Ouden stand, the order of William knows. Some men lead from the rear when the guns start to roar. Then Ouden led from the front on that frozen Korean shore. A volunteer colonel who answered when the world called. He paid the highest price so the line would not fall. Then Ouden stand, Dutch lion in the night. Then Ouden stand, he gave his life. From Holland to home song the story still stands. Then Ouden stand, Dutch hands. Then Ouden stand, then Ouden stand. Oh, the lion fell, but the line held. But the line held. There were men who knew the weight of a rifle long before they saw the snows of Korea. Hardened in the fires of the Second World War and the jungles of Indonesia, the volunteers of the Regiment Van Heutsz formed the unbreakable core of the Dutch Detachment. Armed with M1 Garans and Browning automatics, they marched into a freezing hell. The cold couldn't break them, the enemy couldn't suppress them. Where others held the line, Van Heutsz forged it in ice and iron. The jungle for the bitter white snow, veterans of battles that the young never know. From the islands of Heutsz to the peninsula answerless freeze. We carry the ghosts of the Dutch overseas. They ask for the hardened, they ask for the bold, to stand in the valley and conquer the cold. Van Heutsz, we hold the line in the ice. M1 Garand's ringing out through the night. When the winter wind bites and the artillery pounds, the volunteers stand, we will not give ground. No fear in the frost, no break in the will. The sons of Van Heutsz are holding the hill. Load the end block clip, hear the metal ping ring. Let the Browning automatic start to sing. M1 carbines in the freezing dawn light. We've bled in the tropics, we know how to fight. They try to suppress us with steel and with lead, but we're forged in the fire, walking with the dead. Van Heutsz, we hold the line in the ice. M1 Garand's ringing out through the night. When the winter wind bites and the artillery pounds, the volunteers stand, we will not give ground. No fear in the frost, no break in the will. The sons of Van Heutsz are holding the hill. Below, but the blood still runs hot. Every man here gave everything he's got. Let the conscripts shiver, let the weak fade away. The NDVN has anchored the bay. Through the frostbite and fury, the smoke and the dirt, we don't know how to shatter, we just know how to hurt. One by one, from hard roads, from hard sun, the Dutch flag folded in their pack, and the sea kept calling them back. Careful hands, steady eyes, men who knew the cost of skies. Not boys chasing glory shine, but volunteers drawn to the line. Name by name they stood, shoulder to shoulder good. When the quiet turned to flame, they carried more than a name. NDVN, keep their flame. NDVN, remember their name. Over the water, over the stone. NDVN, we sing them home. NDVN, strong and true. NDVN, this song for you. Some had scars that never slept, some had vows they never left. Old campaign dust on their sleeves, new snow waiting in the leaves. They held the night with iron calm, rough men with a human heart. Every step on foreign ground carved a vow into the sound. Name by name they stood, shoulder to shoulder good. When the quiet turned to flame, they carried more than a name. NDVN, keep their flame. NDVN, remember their name. Over the water, over the stone. NDVN, we sing them home. NDVN, strong and true. NDVN, this song for you. Came back for the letters and the black, for the mud on every road, for the weight they never showed. Let the old tavern sing, let the glasses lightly ring, not for war but for the brave and the mercy in the grave. NDVN, keep their flame. NDVN, remember their name. Over the water, over the stone. NDVN, we sing them home. NDVN, strong and true. NDVN, this song for you. Rest in the roll of drums, rest where the cold wind comes. NDVN, NDVN, we remember now and then. Set down slow on a scarred old board and a folded flag. NDVN boys with their boots still caked from far off mud and smoke and drag. Hand-picked men from the hard years lived, veterans with eyes like winter stone. They left the docks, they left the farms to walk where the wild wind blew cold. Raise the glass, say their names. There's a weight in the room that never fades. For the ones who stood, for the ones who stayed. NDVN, NDVN, we carry your parade. For the ones who marched through the ash and rain. NDVN, NDVN, we are. No polished shine, just a steady hand and a watchful breath. When the night went dark and the road went rough, they held that line against the edge. From the old blue map to the foreign soil, they went with resolve and a volunteer's fire. Now the harp sings low in the tavern air, and the pine rims gleam like a small sunrise. Raise the glass, let it ring, for the quiet brave and the songs they bring. For the ones who stood, for the ones who stayed. NDVN, NDVN, we carry your parade. For the ones who marched through the ash and rain. NDVN, NDVN, we are. takes the color from every sleeve. It cannot take the mark they made in the mother tongue and the old deep grief. We keep the torch in a human hand for the ones who stood, for the ones who stayed. NDVN, NDVN, we carry your parade. For the ones who marched through the ash and rain. NDVN, NDVN, we honor your name. NDVN, NDVN, your story stays. After the heavy fighting at Hongsong and the months that followed, the Dutch battalion was chronically under strength. They had lost too many men. To keep the battalion in the line, the United Nations began sending South Korean soldiers, known as KATCOMs, to reinforce them. These young Korean men were placed directly into Dutch squads. They ate together, slept in the same foxholes, and fought under the Dutch battle flag. They didn't speak the same language. They came from completely different worlds. But in the frozen hills of Korea, they became brothers. Over 20 of these Korean soldiers died fighting beside their Dutch comrades. This is the story of the KATCOMs and the bond that was forged in blood. Hongsong's black night, too many empty places where the brothers used to fight. So the KATCOMs came walking up the line in the snow, young Korean soldiers with nowhere else to go. They were given Dutch rifles and Dutch uniforms too, put straight into squads that had already been through hell. No time for translation, no time to explain, just shoulder to shoulder in the freezing rain. They couldn't speak the words, but they understood the cost. When the Chinese came again, not a single man was lost. KATCOM brothers, under the lion's flag. KATCOM brothers, they never turned back. Dutch and Korean in the same frozen hole. They bled together and they paid the toll. Names in the dark of the night, shared cigarettes and rations by the flickering light. When the mortars walked in and the trenches ran red, the KATCOM stood with them till the last man was dead. Over 20 fell wearing the Dutch lion on their sleeve. Korean blood on Korean soil, so their brothers could leave. No one asked for glory, no one asked for fame. They just answered the call when the Dutch called their name. Language didn't matter when the bullets started to fly. They became one unit or they were going to die. KATCOM brothers, under the lion's flag. KATCOM brothers, they never turned back. Dutch and Korean in the same frozen hole. They bled together and they paid the toll. In orders and in ink, others are written in the blood that soldiers drink. From the boulders of Holland to the hills of Korea, they fought as one family when the end was getting near. KATCOM together. They stood together. They were the Lion's Guard, handpicked from the Emperor's elite. When the Kagnew Battalion deployed to the frozen mountains of Korea, they brought an unbreakable vow. No ground yielded, no prisoner taken, no brother left behind. Fighting through the dead of night, they became phantoms to the enemy and legends to their allies. Armed with American steel and an iron will, they marched into the fire, and they never blinked. They are the undefeated. From the highlands of the sun to the shadows of the snow, we follow the lion wherever we go. The Emperor's chosen, the Imperial Guard. We strike in the night and we hit them hard. They thought the cold would break our spine, but we brought the fire to the 38th line. Kagnew, the line that never breaks. Kagnew, whatever toll it takes. No man left behind in the mud and the red. We carry the living, we carry the dead, through the screaming of shells and the valley's deep scar. No chains for the sons of the African star. Hey, M1's loaded when the darkness falls. We don't wait in the trench when the enemy calls. Close quarters combat, blade and the stock. We hold up the line like a towering rock. 250 engagements of hell, and never a soul to a prison cell. Kagnew, the line that never breaks. Kagnew, whatever toll it takes. No man left behind in the mud and the red. We carry the living, we carry the dead, through the screaming of shells and the valley's deep scar. No chains for the sons of the African star. They search in the morning, but nobody's there. Just the ghosts of the fallen, the smoke in the air. We bleed for the mountain, we fight for the name. We entered the crucible, conquered the flame. Not a foot of our ground to the enemy's hand. We brought the wrath of the motherland. Busch, now hold your glass for the ones we lift tonight. Ash and rain on the road, still they stood in the light. Dust, hard as river stone. Through the blackened years they kept their oath at home. Across the broken field, through smoke and bitter iron, if one man fell away, they went back through the fire. Name by name by name, we pass it down the line. Bone to bone to bone, that brotherhood survived. Kagnew, dark, not for praise alone, not for songs made bright, but for every fallen friend they turned and faced the night. Name by name by name, we pass it down the line. Bone to bone to bone, that brotherhood survived. Kagnew, the old truth stand, let the strong hearts ring. They did not walk away, they carried everything. Kagnew, we remember you. Kagnew, through the fall and through, no one left behind, no one left behind. Kagnew, we remember you. Oh! The generals draw the maps, and the officers give the orders. But the ground is held by the enlisted man. When the ammunition crates run dry on Pork Chop Hill, the Kagnew soldier doesn't look for a way out. He looks to his sergeant, he fixes his bayonet, and he grips his entrenching tool. They are the sons of Ethiopia, fighting in a frozen wasteland, proving that when the rifles click empty, the real battle has just begun. Steel meets bone. glass is empty, the final clip is spent, but the line is never breaking, the iron is never bent. Look to the man beside you, look to the heavy stripes. We fight them in the shadows, we fight them in the pipes. Drop the empty rifle, let the heavy steel swing. We'll show the freezing valley how the trench fighters sing. Hold the dirt, hold the rock, shatter the bone and break the lock. With the bayonet edge and the iron spade, this is the place where the ghosts are made. No brass to save us, no bullets to fly, just the grit of the men who refuse to die. Kagnew, stand in the fray. Kagnew, we make them pay. They pour over the sandbags, 100 in the night, thinking we are broken, thinking we take flight. But the Emperor's enlisted don't know the word retreat. We drag them to the muddy earth and crush them at our feet. A shovel in the darkness, a dagger in the chest. We put the mountain vanguard to the ultimate test. The sergeants hold the center, the corporals hold the flank. We are grinding down the enemy rank by bloody rank. Hold the dirt, hold the rock, shatter the bone and break the lock. With the bayonet edge and the iron spade, this is the place where the ghosts are made. No brass to save us, no bullets to fly, just the grit of the men who refuse to die. Kagnew, stand in the fray. Kagnew, we make them pay. Strike hold. Strike hold. The rifles click empty, the magazines dry. The enemy thinks that the lions will die, but we are the earth, we are the stone. We fight to the marrow, we fight to the bone. Strike hold, strike hold. Rise up from the trench. The enlisted line holds. Kagnew! They call them the ghosts of the peninsula. The enemy learned to fear them in the dark. But at T-Bone Hill, the Kagnew Battalion proved they owned the daylight too. 8 Ethiopian soldiers walked 800 yards across open no-man's land, straight into the teeth of a heavily fortified Chinese battalion. They didn't fire a shot. They breached the trench, snatched 2 prisoners from the embrace of the enemy, and dragged them back down the mountain. When the dust finally settled, and the lines were counted, the 8 had become 10. Arrows are tracking from the top of the hill, but the lions of Judah are moving to kill. No creeping in shadows, no masking the face. We walk through the wire to the devil's embrace. They watch from the bunker, they freeze in their tracks as the phantoms of Africa slip through the cracks. Hey! 8 men walk in, 10 men walk out. We silence the guns, we silence the shout. Straight through the crossfire, right into the trench. We bring back the blood and the battlefield stench. You cannot stop what you cannot break. The ghosts of the mountain are coming to take. Right in the center, the belly of the beast, we crash through the line like a wolf at the feast. 2 men are taken, dragged out by the vest. A snatch and a grab from the communist nest. They shout the alarm, but the shadows are gone. We're pulling them down in the breaking of dawn. We carry no fear and we leave no trace, just the empty dirt in the enemy space. 8 men walk in, 10 men walk out. We silence the guns, we silence the shout. Straight through the crossfire, right into the trench. We bring back the blood and the battlefield stench. You cannot stop what you cannot break. The ghosts of the mountain are coming to take. When next you look, when next you look, the 8 become 10. We are the men, we are the men who walk through the fire. We are the men who cut through the wire. From the horn of the earth to the freezing hell, we ring the bell. We ring the bell. Trench, Kagnew! When the night swallowed them whole, Captain Mammo, Habtewold, and his patrol were cut off bleeding and surrounded by an entire enemy battalion. But surrender is not in the Kagnew vocabulary. With the enemy swarming into hand-to-hand range, Habtewold picked up the radio and did the unthinkable. He called the artillery down directly on his own coordinates. He stood in the fire. He fought through the shrapnel, and when the smoke finally cleared, he walked out of the crater carrying every single one of his men, the living and the dead. Shadow soldiers denied of the day. They close in the circle, the bayonets gleam. stands tall in the mud and the chill. If they want us tonight, it's a grave they will fill. Drop the shells on our heads, let the artillery rain. Danger close in the dark, we are masters of pain. When the shrapnel comes down and the valley turns red, we will walk through the fire to carry our dead. Bring the steel, bring the thunder, let the heavens explode for the unbreakable will of Habtewold. The rifles run empty, it's blade against bone in the heart of the swarm, but we stand as a stone. When a brother goes down, hear the battle cry rise. A fury of vengeance lights up in our eyes. Faster and harder we shatter the line. I am taking him home, he's a brother of mine. Drop the shells on our heads, let the artillery rain. Danger close in the dark, we are masters of pain. When the shrapnel comes down and the valley turns red, we will walk through the fire to carry our dead. Bring the steel, bring the thunder, let the heavens explode for the unbreakable will of Habtewold. Call the fire, zero the grid, bury the enemy under the lid. The blast washes over, the earth splits apart, but it cannot consume an Ethiopian heart. Through the dust and the ash, see the silhouettes rise with the blood on their hands and the fire in their eyes. In 1950, when the call went out for troops in Korea, France offered a single battalion. But a battalion needs a lieutenant colonel, not a 3-star general. Roll McGrinvernery, the grizzled hero of the Foreign Legion, a man who carried the scars, the medals, and the limp of 2 world wars, wasn't about to sit behind a mahogany desk while boys bled in the snow. He stripped the stars right off his own collar. He took the demotion, changed his name to Monclar, and grabbed his cane. He didn't come to command from a heated radio tent. He came to Chipyong-ni to draw his sword. under desert stars. But they said, we need a colonel to take the Asian thrust. So he tore the general's stars right off and didn't count the cost. He traded in the chateau for a freezing foxhole bed, with a cane in his right hand and a bounty on his head. He looked out at the legion, at the veterans and the young, and told them they'd be speaking in a very violent tongue. So pour a glass of cognac and let the siren wail. This is General Monclar, and he does not know how to fail. From the jungles to the snowdrifts, against the Chinese wave, he's the old wolf of the legion, and he's digging them a grave. Take the stars off his shoulder, give the old man a blade, and he'll show the whole peninsula how the legends are made. At Chipyong-ni the bugles blew, the night was turning black, 10,000 shadows moving in a human wave attack. The lines were getting heavy, the ammo running low, when Monclar limped up to the front to steal the bloody show. He didn't call for backup, he didn't call retreat. He cranked a wailing siren just to knock them off their feet. With a middle finger to the commies lifted and a red scarf flying high, he said, fix your bayonets, boys, we're looking eye to eye. So pour a glass of cognac and let the siren wail. This is General Monclar, and he does not know how to fail. From the jungles to the snowdrifts, against the Chinese wave, he's the old wolf of the legion, and he's digging them a grave. Take the stars off his shoulder, give the old man a blade, and he'll show the whole peninsula how the legends are made. He survived the First World War, he survived the second too. If the devil couldn't kill him, what's an army gonna do? Through the mortars and the traces, with a limp and with a roar, the three-star colonel walks right through the center of the war. They said the age of heroes died a century ago, but the French battalion proved it in the Chipyong-ni snow. Vive la France! Hey! On the beam, boots by the door, brass in the seam. They said, stand tall, keep your line, learn from the old wars, learn from the wine. And the glasses rose to the names we keep, through the rain and mud, through the years that sleep. on the wall that the years still know. If the road runs dark, if the ash hangs thin, we raise one more glass and we march again. Monclar, Monclar, hold the flame in your hand. Monclar, Monclar, we still stand where you stand, for the spirit lives on in the hard-worn song. Monclar, Monclar, we carry you on. Hey, Mike! Monclar, Monclar, we carry you on. Hey, hey! Slow for the dawn they knew, 3,400 in the line of blue. Active duty hearts and reserve born flame, they answered first and they came the same. Boots on the boards of a hard old road, shoulders bent under a chosen load. Not for glory, not for gold, just a vow that held when the cold wind rolled and the rank fell back by a willing hand, to stand as one in a borrowed land. First commander, he led the way, Raoul Magrin, Verneray, France to fray. Raise the glass for the names we knew, raise the glass for the brave and true. 3,400 shoulder to shoulder, 3,400 getting older. Raise the glass, we keep the fire. Officers stepped down and COs too, took less on cloth to give more through. No bright brass need, no higher seat, just mud on the hem and the march beneath. They traded title for a steadier bond, for the men at their backs, for the road beyond. And every demotion by choice, by grace, put a little more heart in that crowded place. So if you hear the pipes in a tavern room, there's 100 years in the turning tune. And every strong voice, rough and worn, sings the ones who bled where the banner was born. Raise the glass for the names we knew, raise the glass for the brave and true. 3,400 shoulder to shoulder, 3,400 getting older. Raise the glass, we keep the fire, keep the fire, we keep the fire. From France he came where the soldiers eye, and gave his name to the hard goodbye. From rank to rank, from lost to gold, they carried the young and the brave and the old. So let this room remember well the hard-won tale we sing and tell. Not for the fall, but the standing fast, a bond like iron that outlives the past. Raise the glass for the names we knew, raise the glass for the brave and true. 3,400 shoulder to shoulder, 3,400 getting older. Raise the glass, we keep the fire, keep the fire, we keep the fire. honoring tonight. Keep the candle low and kind. 3,400 names march back through the smoke and pine. Active duty, reserve alike, volunteers with steady hands. They came to hold the line for a cause they understood. And the officers stepped down, wore the smaller braid with pride. NCOs bowed their titles to stand where duty burned inside. First Commander Rowe, France in his marching boots. He led by giving more than a rank could ever prove. Raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. 3,400 strong in the long remembered reign. Raise it high, raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. Volunteers in humble ranks, and their names will not fade. No bright parade could hold them all, no brass could carry what they gave. Mud on cuffs and prayer on lips, they walked toward the grave of fear. A lowered bar, a heavier heart, that was the bargain they made. To serve the full, to guard the flame, till the last dark hour broke. So sing them on the timber floor, sing them soft and sing them true. Let the room become a field, let the memory pass through. Raoul at the front door, and every folded sleeve a ledger of the living who chose to believe. Hey! Raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. 3,400 strong in the long remembered reign. Raise it high, raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. Volunteers in humble ranks, and their names will not fade. If the night grows thin with age and the world forgets the cost, we keep the table open wide for the valor that was lost. Not for crowns, not for gold, only duty bare and brave. A nation in a smaller room, learning how to praise the grave. Raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. 3,400 strong in the long remembered reign. Raise it high, raise it for the ones who came, raise it for the ones who stayed. Volunteers in humble ranks, and their names will not fade. Oh, they will not fade. A volunteer force heavily seasoned by veterans of the French Foreign Legion and led by a demoted lieutenant general. At Chipyong-ni, they broke human wave attacks with brutal hand-to-hand combat and psychological warfare, using sirens to mock enemy bugles. They came from the old wars, volunteers of the Republic and ghosts of the Foreign Legion, led by a general who traded his stars for the chance to fight in the mud. At Chipyong-ni, surrounded and outnumbered, the night was torn apart by the sound of enemy bugles. But the French battalion did not break. They cranked their own sirens. They drew their steel, and instead of waiting for the onslaught, they leaped from the frozen trenches and charged howling into the dark. music, let the concert begin. Crank the heavy handle, let the devil in. Sound the siren, fix the blade. Show them how the ghosts are made. From the European ashes to the Asian snow, we're the heavy-handed reapers and we run the show. Over the sandbags into the fray, Monclar's volunteers will lead the way. Break the line and shatter the horn. The French battalion brings the storm. They thought we would cower, they thought we would run when they marched into the barrel of the smoking gun. But the whistle of the enemy is drowned out loud by the roaring of the sirens and the roaring of the crowd. It's hand-to-hand combat, rifle butt and the knife. We are trading in the shadows for a beggar's life. No surrender in the valley, no step in retreat. We will crush the bloody vanguard at our very feet. Sound the siren, fix the blade. Show them how the ghosts are made. From the European ashes to the Asian snow, we're the heavy-handed reapers and we run the show. Over the sandbags into the fray, Monclar's volunteers will lead the way. Break the line and shatter the horn. The French battalion brings the storm. They blow the horn, we raise the wail. We bring the fury, we bring the gale. General Monclar, command the strike.